You're watching TVC News at 7 with me, Femi Oguntoye. The National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, led by Tamino Saraki, has rejected the judgment of the Court of Appeal which nullified the party's national convention held on the 15th and 16th of November in Ibadan, Oyo State. Spokesperson of the Saraki faction, Ini Memobong, says the party's lawyers had been directed to challenge the ruling at the Supreme Court. He expressed optimism that the Apex Court would swiftly resolve the dispute in the interest of democracy. Mr. Memobong also urged party members to remain united, assuring them that the legal dispute would soon be resolved.
We have asked our lawyers to collect the certified true copies of the judgments that have just been delivered by the court. The court had promised that the judgments should be ready by tomorrow. So as soon as the judgments are received by our lawyers, they will advise us on what further necessary steps to take, if any, on the basis of the said judgment.
Meanwhile, former President of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, has appealed to all leaders and stakeholders in the People's Democratic Party to resolve the ongoing litigations over the party's disputed national convention and focus on organizing a fresh one in line with electoral guidelines. Senator Saraki made the appeal today in a statement posted on his X handle and signed by the head of the Bukola Saraki Media Office, Yusuf Olaniyonu. He was reacting to the Court of Appeal judgment that upheld earlier rulings invalidating the PDP National Convention held in Ibadan in November 2025. The former Kwara State governor said the party must accept the verdict and move swiftly to organize a new national convention in line with the timetable of the Independent National Electoral Commission. He warned that continued litigation could jeopardize the chances of party members seeking to contest the 2027 general elections on the PDP platform. Also, the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party met in Abuja, the nation's capital, on Tuesday. The emergency meeting is taking place at the lodge of Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed, led by former Senate President Adolphus Wabara. The gathering has in attendance Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde, Tanimu Turaki, and Umar Damagun. Others include ex-PDP Deputy National Chairman Bode George, former Information Minister Jerry Gana, former Governor of Niger State Babangida Aliyu, and several prominent party members. In his opening remarks, the BOT Chairman Adolphus Wabara said the judgment of the Court of Appeal on Monday is an opportunity for the PDP to begin again. Earlier in the day, the Abdurrahman Mohammed-led caretaker committee of the PDP also had a briefing, describing the Court of Appeal judgment as a validation of his committee as the authentic leadership of the party. Let's bring in lawyer Liborus Oshoma for more on this development. Mr. Oshoma, thanks for joining us on TVC News at 7. The faction insisting to go to the Supreme Court is not only seeking justice, they are also, optimistic that the Apex Court will give them this judgment in time. What do you make of the timeline vis-a-vis the INEC timetable? How feasible is a Supreme Court intervention that will align with this timetable?
Yeah, thank you very, very much, Nifemi. First and foremost, let's look at the feasibility of the judgment going in their direction before we begin to talk about the timeline. If you remember, when Justice Omotosho and Justice Lifu gave those orders, they also had said that they know that at the Court of Appeal, that justice will be served as if what Justice Omotosho and Justice Lifu did was not justice. And another thing they did was to hurry to Ibadan, despite the lapses and the constitution at this, and then to hurry to Ibadan via a court order, knowing fully well that Governor Makinde is the governor of Oyo State, getting a high court judgment in Oyo, asking them to go ahead. And knowing fully well that that judgment cannot stand the test of time, they knew what they were doing. And that was why at the end of the day, they still had to approach the Federal High Court in Ibadan, asking that the Federal High Court validate what they did in Ibadan. And the Federal High Court, in its wisdom, said, well, what you have done in Ibadan, it's ultra-vires, not just your law, but also an abuse of court processes, the powers of the court. Two courts had asked you not to go ahead, and you still went ahead. And so the Court of Appeal judgment today, the Court of Appeal judgment in the matter simply, stated what you would say, saner mind already know. And then now coming to your question directly, I wonder, because the window for all the party to update their register, hold their primaries, and then campaigns and everything, publication of lists for claims and objection, is between April and September. We're already in March. And I doubt if these issues will be resolved between now and, even if it is resolved between now and May or June, by which time the time for conducting primaries and submitting names, for some elective offices would have been over.
Would have expired. So, following the call of unity from Nyesom Wike yesterday, we've now heard from two important stakeholders within the PDP, former Senate President, who is saying that they should move away from the court to have this resolved. Adolphus Wabara, the BOT chairman, is also saying it's an opportunity. Do you think this voice of reason has the capacity to prevail right now, given what has transpired between both factions in recent times?
My doubts. I am not a prophet of doom for PDP. I think they have gone too far into the river for them to see reasons at this stage to beat a retreat. Nyesom Wike might have his shenanigans, but I can tell you that this.
Well, we're staying.
I would say this with all sense of modesty, because one of the reasons why the Federal High Court gave an order restraining them from conducting the party primaries was the suit filed by former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido. Is Sule Lamido also spearheaded by Nyesom Wike? And then also, one of the grounds of Nyesom Wike's faction is that primaries were not conducted in about 14 states, which the Court of Appeal rightly observed. So all of this, despite all of these lapses and the failure on the part of the Makide's faction to observe all of these constitutional, principles of the party, requirements of the party, they still went ahead to conduct primaries. So will you blame Nyesom Wike for that, actually? No, you won't blame him. He might have his own high-handedness and, always wanting things to go his own way. But with the current crisis and what had befallen the PDP, you can blame it squarely on Makide's doorstep. And I doubt if Makide, because we have not heard his voice, I doubt if he would actually beat a retreat. Because people are looking at Nyesom Wike and saying he's the one wanting to destroy the party. Yes, certainly, because he's always wanted to have his way. But in as far as this crisis is concerned, people also need to look at the role Makinde has consistently played in it, knowing fully well that there are requirements that must be met, and the failure to meet those requirements will nullify whatever process you are taking. He still went ahead, despite those lapses. He still went ahead via a court order in Oyo State, his states, and then certainly knowing fully well Nigeria, people are going to say, well, that judgment was procured. A lot of people also had insinuated that. So I think it is too late in the day.
All right.
With where things are going, and then with the defection of one of their last governors, the governor of Zamfara State, who has stayed put, hoping that the voice of reason will prevail. I doubt if even the call by Wabara and co they would hear the whistle at this time, because the Wabara, the BOT chairman, others, they've always been there. Didn't they see this crisis snowballing into what it is now? Why had they been quiet all of this while? So it is obvious that they truly are not ready to go into the next election. But like we always say, there's always a usual suspect, Nyesom Wike, who started all of these beats.
All right.
And now they've taken it over.
Good place to live in. I guess time will tell whether PDP is fighting for relevance in the 2027 election or survival beyond 2027.
There is no time, Nifemi.
Yes.
There's no time. Time has already told us. there's no time telling us.
Good place to live in.
They are not fighting for relevance. Thank you.
Liborus Oshoma, thank you for your insight on the news at 7.
My pleasure.